I first of all want to begin by really thanking you for this gracious invitation to be here with you this morning. And I want to take a moment in silence and prayer and for the perhaps not devastating potential of Hurricane Gustav. Just take a moment of silence, just a moment. The people of Louisiana have gone through so much over the last 3 years. Thank you. I'm moved by the opening remarks and also 2 Corinthians, we walk by faith, not by sight. It's one of my favorite passages in the Bible, and certainly one that when I think about all of our history, all of our stories are one of faith. That the sight in itself is relative, but faith in itself has something much deeper. It resonates something much deeper and something much more powerful in our soul when we have faith. But that faith itself is also reflected in what we do with that faith. We're at a very extraordinary moment in this country's history. The announcement of the first African American, first person of color to be perhaps becoming the President of the United States. And what does that mean? You, in the state of Louisiana, have suffered so much over the last 3 years. Historically, the state of Louisiana is quite an extraordinary state, with extraordinary people, with extraordinary culture, and an extraordinary history. As we think about the work that we need to do, it must be reflected in the changes that we really want to make and what we envision. We've known this story of Louisiana from its relationship as a French colony to slavery, through its incredible transformation and becoming a part of the Union. All of those things are part of our past. But our past must also be a reflection or an understanding of how we use that past as we build toward a new future. That business cannot be done as usual, whether it's in the state of Louisiana or whether it's in the state of California or it's any state in this particular country. Business cannot be done or carried on as usual. And that's going to reflect in how each of us become participants, real participants in our own rescue and participants in the change that we imagine. It not simply takes place on election day. It's not simply takes place in all the hyperbole of a convention. It takes place in the hard work that we do as citizens first. As citizens first. The citizens first must resurrect the dream. As Langston Hughes said in his most famous poem, "Let America be America again, the dream that must be but has never been." Must be but has never been. America has not realized that dream. Let's not pretend it has. We talk about America's greatness, but it has not realized that dream. It must at this moment, for not only our people, this nation of 300 million people, but the world itself, realize that dream. And when we march out of here, come tomorrow, as we march into this campaign, we under our southern standard, we not only have to build a campaign, we have to build a movement. We have to push our candidate to understanding that the changes that are necessary are not only cosmetic changes, they're changes that are quality changes, they're changes that are structural changes, there's changes that are systemic changes. And if we're fooling ourselves, we've covered our eyes. We become blind again to what's happening. When we talk about this heroic day, when Dr. King stood up and said, I had a dream, he manifests that dream in practical, real terms. He manifests that dream in terms of equity in this society. He manifests that dream in terms of quality education. 70% of African American kids go to 7th grade schools in this country, 50-some years after the Brown versus Board education. Those are realities. We have a prison population in New Orleans and the rest of the world that is astonishing and embarrassing. We have an AIDS population where that in New York and where Washington, D.C. represents a population of those tested positive with AIDS and suspected of having AIDS outshines some of the, goes further than, or is deeper than some of the African nations on the PEPFAR, the program. We have to understand the work we have to do in terms of health care, and it cannot be simply a dream. Dr. King, in his last moments, questioned whether we're capable of doing that. When he said, when he spoke in his book, his last book, where do we go from here? Community or chaos? That was the question 41 years ago when he wrote this book. It's the question that we live right now. As we look at the late state of poverty, the numbers don't lie. Mean income for the average American worker has remained stagnant for the last 35 years. That's real. Those are real numbers. People are losing their homes. People, and in fact, the demographics for those who've lost their homes as a result of the mortgage crisis has been primarily Black single women. That's been the main group. So minorities are losing their homes. People are losing their homes around this country, and this is real. The President Obama is going to have some tough choices. They're going to have to be sacrifices. And let us be known that we're willing to make the sacrifices if we indeed make the qualitative changes that are necessary for all of us, for all Americans.